Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America. Website, of course, thisweekinamerica.us. Back with us on the program, Clark Richard Spaulding, a retired high school math teacher, currently residing in Watertown, New York. He conducts New Age book discussions and watches television, church services, and sermons. Well-rounded individual, as you'll find out in the program today. He also participates in chess tournaments, loves fishing and hunting. He's the author of several books, both of which we've talked about on the program, The Awakening. And we also talked about a second book, The Eternal Way of God. We're going to be talking about that again on the program. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you'll see a link on the right side of the page to go to our YouTube channel. You can watch all of our programs there, including the two we did with Richard called the books The Awakening and The Eternal Way of God. Back to talk about The Eternal Way of God. With us in the program, Clark Richard Spaulding. Richard, welcome to the program. Great to have you back with us.
Thank you.
We're talking about the eternal way of God, and this is something that even though we've talked about it before on programs, read a lot about it, it is still confusing to many people. They keep going back and trying to figure out, just try to make some sense out of all this. Let's start, and it's always a good place to start in our discussions. Let's talk about the principle of reincarnation and how that important is to our understanding.
Well, the Book of Revelation is a book on karma and reincarnation, which work hand in glove. You find it very difficult to understand the personalities and the people mentioned. There's a few without understanding reincarnation. They are still alive today, and we have a past together. They're mostly people that I have known in the past and that I have karma with. That is, karmatic ties with that bind us together. There's good karma and bad karma, but most of our karma has been good. But we need to resolve certain issues together, and it goes to show how important our personal relationships are. How they will last. They're going to last way into heaven.
Well, yeah, and we'll talk about that. We'll keep coming back. It's a recurring theme on the program when we're talking about the eternal way of God. Our guest in the program is Clark Richard Spaulding. His website is clarkrichandspaulding.com. Go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and you can link onto that website, get information, and be able to order the book as well, The Eternal Way of God. In talking about the book of Revelation, do you feel that you fully understand it now? And how long did it take before you started getting a grasp, you felt, of what this really means for us?
Well, when I was in college, I was rooming with certain people there, and we were talking in the dream state. I have always been very, very active in the dream state, traveling around, talking to different people. And he started asking me about chapter 13, what that meant. And I said, well, I wasn't sure at the time. And he said, well, you will be sure. And apparently I had known more in the dream state than I did when I was awake at that time. But the people mentioned in chapter 13 hadn't really been born yet. And so it's a lot easier after these things are fulfilled, these prophecies are fulfilled, it's a lot easier to understand them than to try to understand them before they're fulfilled. The same for chapter 12. My daughter has fulfilled chapter 12. Rick and Rodney have fulfilled chapter 13, and they're still doing it. They're still fulfilling those personalities.
In talking about prophecies, talk about several that have already occurred. And again, as you said, it's easier to understand those because we have something tangible. And those that will occur soon because we're all concerned about what may be in the future for us.
Well, I was thinking to go way back to chapter 2. Chapter 2, it mentions Balaam, and it mentions Antipas, and it mentions Jezebel. And I have met the most recent incarnations of those three people recently. Antipas, Herod Antipas, he became George Washington. And he has been one of my best friends in this lifetime. And Jezebel, she worked with me on my book discussions here. And I wrote about her in my book. She has a problem with Christianity. And She still has it, and I don't know that she's got rid of it. Balaam, he reincarnated as Hitler, and
Wow.
you know that story.
Yes, yes.
And he's so-called living egg master working in Minnesota, and he is a spiritual master, and he did fulfill some prophecies, which, if you look at chapter 7 in the book of Revelation, the Holocaust, the Jewish people that were killed in Germany, about 6 million of them, are all back in Israel again. That's reincarnation again. I was there in '97, and I talked to some of them about it.
Well, yeah, and you write about that in the book, The Eternal Way of God. Our guest in the program is Clark Richard Spaulding. His website is clarkrichandspaulding.com. You're listening to This Week in America. Our website is thisweekinamerica.us. You write in the book about that, and it was, again, one of the many life-turning, life-changing events in your life in 1997. This was a tour that was put together by TBN. And talk about how this really changed your life, including a sickness you picked up going over there. You were sick for a while and needed a little intervention to get rid of what was a very bad bronchial condition.
Yeah, I was quite ill, but I went to all the tours, and my roommate was an incarnation of name doesn't come to me right now. Joseph of Arimathea. He's the one that donated the tomb for after Jesus was crucified. They put his body in Joseph of Arimathea's special burial place,
right.
And he turned out to be my assigned roommate, and we identified each other. That was quite interesting, and Paul Crouch identified himself as being a reincarnation of Elijah. He announced that in front of 200 different people, that he used to be Elijah in a past lifetime. I believe he was also Saint Paul, that wrote an awful big part of the Bible. And some of the singers there, were people that had changed their song. I believe I met the 3 wise men that they were there. Mother Angelica was one of them. Yvonne Tripp, Laverne Tripp, his name is, I guess, and Walt Mills. And they all seemed to recognize me, and we were quite friendly together. And then I had another sort of a guy that had been on TV come along and accused me of being the first seal and being an antichrist.
Wow.
Because of my pointed ears and that, and it was kind of funny, I thought. He had been doing a program on TV about the Book of Revelations, which he never understood. He never understood the whole thing, to my mind, at least.
When you are drawn to these people that you've had relationships or you knew from a past life, explain that draw. Is there just something innate about the fact that you feel comfortable with somebody and it's probably somebody you've had associations with?
It's a lifetime story for me. It started way back when I was preteen, 7, 8, 9 years old. I started recognizing people that I knew in the past, and it's just been happening all the time. I've been recognizing people. It just automatically happens. Almost everybody I meet, I say, well, now, who was he? I seem to know that he must have been somebody that I knew in the past, and then Spirit informs me. I don't have the ability to read their records, but they do carry their records with them. The books of all their existence is carried with them at soul level. And when we get to the white throne judgment, those books will be opened up. Also, the book of life will be opened up. And I guess we all have to go through that judgment at one point. That's a ways off, I believe. I believe that's a ways off.
Well, that's interesting, and I would like to talk about that. Our guest on This Week in America is Clark Richard Spaulding, back with us in the program, talking about one of his 2 excellent books. This is The Eternal Way of God. His other book that we've discussed in the program is The Awakening. Further discussion on both of those books available at our YouTube channel. You can access that very simply by going to thisweekinamerica.us, as well as link on to Richard's website. In the book, you talk about the coming end days, and everybody is concerned about that. You flip through the television, you see all the television evangelists talking about that in very dark, scary terms most of the time. Talk about what you see in the future for us.
Well, a lot of the students of prophecy, they try to predict everything is going to happen this year and right away. You know, the complete rapture of the Christian people, and the big tribulation and all that. And I think it's not going to happen this year or this lifetime. I think there's going to be sort of a small opening of the seventh seal, which won't be all that small. The big tribulation, referred to in chapter 7, refers to the tribulation of the Jewish people in Germany more than the Christian people. And the rapture, I think, will occur probably just before the earth comes to an end, which will happen sometime. It could be a few thousand years away. I do not think that the resurrection and the rapture are exactly the same. I think they're two different ideas. I think the people that are trying to group this into one happening, and it's going to happen right away, I think they're trying to crowd too much prophecy in all at once.
Well, that's an interesting assessment because, yes, when you hear the terms are almost interchangeable when you hear some of these people talk about it.
I just heard a guy say that on TV. He said the rapture is the same as the resurrection. I said, no, that's not. That can't be right. It can't be right. There is going to be a resurrection of two witnesses. That fulfills chapter 11, and I expect to fulfill that. I do not expect, from what I see, I don't expect the entire Christian religion to rapture up at this time. I do not expect that. They're going to have to stay here and go through the tribulation of the opening of the seventh seal, which is going to be, I think, a shift on the axis. And it's going to be a climatic changes. And a lot of the prophecy is going to be fulfilled at this time, but not all of it. Not the whole total package, all in one lifetime.
When people hear this, they sort of do like this quick moral inventory, like, am I going to heaven? Am I going to hell? You talk about different levels, different layers almost of heaven. Is there a heaven and hell?
Very definitely. And I don't know that much about hell, but heaven is a place where you can serve God. You know, when He opens the book of life, that will be our relationship with Him, the Father. You know, when He opens the other book, the book of souls, that will be our activity on earth. And at some point, we will be judged, apparently, which I have nothing to do with. It's not my decision who goes to heaven and hell. Satan was just put in time out for 1,000 years. Right after bin Laden was killed, he got time out for 1,000 years. And I think the jihadists are going to be time out for 1,000 years. And then they have to come back. And if they start messing up again, they're going to pay instantly, apparently. That's the way it's written in the book of Revelation here. But that'll be 1,000 years away from now. And that we're going to still be here in one form or another.
Well, and let me ask you that. Where do you think you will be? You don't see your next state being in heaven, a form of heaven. You see Clark Richard Spaulding coming back as somebody else again?
Working, whatever I'm empowered and directed to do. That's what heaven is to me. It's a place to go and to serve God. God doesn't serve me. I serve God. Heaven is not a welfare state where you're going to go and not have to work anymore and never have to do anything, never have to improve anything. That's just another step in our progress. Yes, there are about 10 different levels of heaven, and it takes an eternity to develop, apparently, all the way up through. I don't know what level I'm at, but I have been serving God all my different lifetimes, of which I'm mostly aware of.
Are you fearful of the future? And I ask that as you watch some of the televangelists who will talk about what's ahead, and they're not bright days ahead in many cases. Are you fearful of the future?
I try not to be. I try to look forward to it. I don't have anything to worry about as far as sin and screwing up real bad. I have always been led by Spirit and done, and I have done as I was told or led to do, and so I should not have to be fearful. I can see where some people are fearful if they have terrible sins in their life, and they haven't forgiven themselves or haven't been forgiven. I can see where there might be some fear. Fear can cause cancer. It can cause a lot of problems. It's one thing that we have to control is the fear in our being.
We've got a couple of minutes left in the program. The time always goes by way too quickly. The past shows we've done with Richard, you can see at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Go to the YouTube channel. You can also get information at Richard's website, which is clarkrichardsspaulding.com. One thing I remember we talked about in the past, and this is really interesting, is there's a natural evolution sort of as we go from one lifetime to the next, where we can gain maturity, we can actually grow as a person.
I have no problem with evolution, but the theory of evolution, some people adhere to, that God has nothing to do with it, is really stupid. I don't agree with the theory of evolution, but with the process of evolution under God's control. That's His way of doing things, and I don't judge that. It may take thousands or millions of years for Him to do whatever He's doing, and time here on earth is relative to the movement of physical bodies, but eternity is gauged by a different time process, of which I don't really understand. Evolution. When I was studying evolution in biology, I told the biology professor, I said, "This makes no difference to me how God did it. If He did it by evolution, okay, who cares?"
Yeah, I'm sure you got an interesting look back when you said that in class. I got about a minute left in the program here. The Book of Revelation, is that something we all should study?
That and you should take another look at reincarnation and karma. You can't understand the Book of Revelation without these concepts, and the process of evolution in eternity is not such a big problem as it is to Earth. On Earth, it seems like we want to put X number of years to it, and how this happened and who did it, and that's can't be done that way. It's way beyond our reasoning.
Our guest, another fascinating program. Our guest has been Richard Spaulding. He's the author of the book Eternal Way of God. The other book is The Awakening, which we've discussed. The books are available and all the information at clarkrichardsspaulding.com. By going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on directly to Richard's website, get all the information, order the book if you would like. And also, while there, check out the YouTube channel. We've got an icon up on the right side of the page. You can go to the YouTube channel and watch our past two programs where we talked about another show where we talked about the eternal way of God. Can't cover it in just one show. We also talked about the other book, The Awakening. Richard, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Look forward to having you back in an enlightening program. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
I really appreciate this. Time is too short here.
It goes by way too quickly. We'll have you back and we'll talk more. The name of the book again is The Eternal Way of God. Richard Spaulding, our guest. Information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us.
Thank you.